swore under oath to tell the American people the absolute truth as they were about to testify first-hand accounts of DNC collusion and how the Democrat Party had been interfering with the American election in order to keep Donald Trump from victory. This is where we need to brush up on the Black Ledger, the so-called Book of Bribes that pointed a big accusatory finger at Paul Manafort, claiming it was proof Team Trump took money from the Russians.
Basically, the Black Ledger was produced somewhere in late May of 2016. It was a blockbuster. It showed that Manafort, and then it came out over June and July, that Manafort was taking bribes, signed for them in the Black Ledger.
He signed his own bribes.
He signed his own bribes in the Black Ledger.
Now you asked him
and
about
therefore he had to be fired as the campaign manager of Donald Trump.
Enter DNC operative Alexandra Chalupa, whose fingerprints are largely associated with the document.
There's a big story happening here in America. It's not being told by the mass media how it really happened, what really happened behind the scenes. Starting from the prosecutor's office in Ukraine with an investigation into Burisma case and Hunter Biden, ending with the situation here in America where you have the Ukrainian embassy colluding and working with the DNC on the behalf of Ambassador Chali and his DCM Oksana Shudar.
And this is
from
first-hand
Ukraine.
information.
I was a first-hand witness of all this processes, starting from the prosecutor's office and then with the situation here in the Ukrainian embassy in Washington.
Teleshenko says he was instructed at the embassy to keep an eye out for any dirt against candidate Trump, and if he found anything, to alert Chalupa. All this dirt collecting takes us to January 2016. At this time, the Trump campaign is 7 months old, and already Trump holds a sizable lead in a crowded Republican primary. Polls placed Trump at a whopping 35%, leaving second-place contender Ted Cruz in the dust at 18%. In January, Teleshenko attends a meeting at the Obama White House. There, he says, the Obama NSC asked for any information and dirt on the Party of Regions, a pro-Russia political party in Ukraine.
Yeah, there was a meeting with the three prosecutors, two deputy prosecutors, Sekorelidze and Khodnitsky, and the head of NABU, Mr. Sitnik, who were in Washington for a 3-day visit. And there was a meeting at the White House where
That you were at.
I was at, and I was involved in with the delegation from the Ukrainian side with those three prosecutors.
The person who would arrange this visit for Teleshenko and the Ukrainians? An Obama NSC member named Eric Shermella. Teleshenko showed us the White House logs as evidence. Shermella was a member of both the Obama and Trump NSC, was a Ukraine expert, worked for the CIA, is a registered Democrat, traveled with Joe Biden, and was reportedly fired from the Trump White House for sabotaging documents. His co-workers, who also left the Trump White House under dubious circumstances, now work for Adam Schiff. Interestingly, Shermella's profile fits the exact profile of the so-called whistleblower who started this entire impeachment inquiry.
Mr. Shermanella got my invitation into the White House and other staff.
We have to be careful with Mr. Chernow. Right. He's one of the protected species in Washington.
Can you tell us what you were there for the White House for? Who called the meeting?
The Department of Justice asked them to come to Washington for a training meeting in Washington for 3 days. Okay. The first meeting we had was in the White House, Obama White House, National Security Council, at the Eisenhower Building.
5 months after Teleshenko interacted with Chalupa, Chalupa wrote DNC comms director Louise Miranda about how she discussed Paul Manafort with Ukrainian reporters and was keeping her pal at the New York Times, Michael Isikoff, up to speed. Isikoff is the reporter who would ultimately break the Black Ledger story. Chalupa adds in her email she had a Trump component.
That's an admission of exactly what they investigated Donald Trump for 2.5 years to the tune of $35 million.
Mayor Giuliani, why is his testimony important to the general discussion as we discuss corruption in Ukraine?
Andrei Teleshenko's testimony is critical because, first of all, it should be pointed out, it's corroborated by 8 or 10 other people. Second, you said something that just struck me immediately when you said to him, you have firsthand knowledge. We just sat through 2 weeks of Adam Schiff putting us through second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth hand knowledge. This man has first-hand knowledge. So you can attack his credibility all you want, And the enemies here have done that. Attack their credibility, my credibility. But you can't say it isn't evidence. He has personal evidence. Just one example, the American media and American law enforcement doesn't give a darn about this evidence. So he's not anonymous. He's not an anonymous informant. He's not an anonymous whistleblower. He's not hiding behind a curtain. He's sitting right there and he's saying, that woman who worked for the Democratic National Committee asked me to get foreign information that could be inserted into an American campaign that was going to be leaked to the press, and that would blow up his campaign and destroy him as a candidate.
So a political party in the United States working with a foreign government to actually affect or change the outcome of a U.S. election.
On purpose and provable, but ignored by the mass media and ignored by, even more tragically, the Justice Department and the FBI.